What's up, guys? It's Simon. I actually didn't plan on doing any videos today, but I've been doing a little witch-crafting, and so I'm probably gonna do, I don't know if I'm gonna make it all one video or what, but probably not, because one's a little too serious to make as a collage video. But anyway, I was working again on my cauldron salt. Now, for those of you who don't know, the cauldron salt is basically my version of black salt. And again, if you don't know, I work with black and white very differently than in the craft. Basically, long story short, um, let's see, how do I say this? I use black for mainly manifesting, and I pull from the knowledge of art and how black is a shade and white is a hue, and that white is a reflection of all the other colors, or projection of all the colors. And so I use white for all projective workings, like protection and banishment, and, things of that nature. If I'm sending energy to someone, I'll use white. Now, for black, it's the absorption, or the, what was it? I think they also said reflection of all the colors. So I use it for all receptive workings, for manifesting, for conjuring, for bringing energy towards myself. And so that's how I use my cauldron salt. I use it for to help me in manifesting. So it still brings about that protection, but it also helps with manifesting, and it also absorbs any negativity. And since it has salt in it, which is of the earth, and other herbs that are of the earth, it also transmutes the negative energy, so that way it can be used to help manifest. That's how I use my cauldron salt. So, like I said, I was working on it, and this is what I have right now. And this camera is just not doing it justice, because it looks much better in person. This kind of makes it look like it has a bunch of barks in there, but there's not. This is what I was left over that I can't fit in my salt jar. So I wanted to share with you some herbs that you could use instead of the typical resins, they being dragon's blood, myrrh, and frankincense. Now, I've been seriously practicing for 2 years now, and not once have I ever bought a resin. So I've never seen a resin in person. And so I wanted to share with you what I use instead of resins. So, what I use instead of dragon's blood, well, you could use cinnamon for one, because that brings about potency. And if you're out of cinnamon like I am, you can actually use crushed chili peppers or the whole chili peppers. I wanted to use the whole one, so that way I could put my intention into it while I was, breaking it up. Now, frankincense is associated with the masculine, and myrrh is with the feminine. And if you don't know, orange peel is also associated with the masculine. It's associated with the sun, and it has relatively the same properties that frankincense has. Now, there are some different ones, obviously, but a lot of the main ones are in orange peel that you do use in frankincense. Them being strength and oh gosh, I just lost what the word is. But I use a lot of that vitality that's within the orange peel that has that strength and protection. Orange peel provides a lot of that as well. And a lot of people will use myrrh for cleansing, and to kind of, they'll use it in either a cleansing incense or to keep the energy of the working or spell work or the incense cleansed, as well as referring to the divine feminine. So you can use lemon peel for that as well. So, and obviously it all depends on your intention. You can, put more magical attributions to these ingredients as well. But I just wanted to share that with you so that way, if you felt like you had to wait until you could buy the resin, you don't have to wait. Being a witch is always about witching your way around things. Using what you have to get what you want. So if you want resin, or rather, what you would need is the money to buy the resin. If that's what you want, use what you have to get what you want. I have orange peel. Now, I'm not necessarily manifesting money to buy the resin, but I am using what I have to get what I want. And there are other things in here that I put in here in regards to my matron and patron, which you could do that for your black salt as well to help bring about protection and just to make it even more personal and more potent. Now, in mine, I have, let's see, can I get some? There we go. Let's get this little piece here. This is a little chip of cedar wood. I actually bought a cedar wood sachet. It had a bunch of the cedar wood chips in it. And I bought it. It was the last one there, and I basically tore the crap out of it. And I put it in this jar so I could have my own cedar wood. Always be on the lookout for things. Never think that you can't get something because it's not in a traditional spot. Like I said, I got my lavender, the very first lavender I ever had, I bought from an antique shop. So you always want to keep your eyes open because there's stuff available to you anywhere, in nature, in your backyard, in grocery stores, in thrift stores, antique shops, in the Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and other cheap stores, always just keep your eye open and you'll be really surprised what you can find. Now, can I get it? That's what I used to represent my god, my patron, Veals. Now, to represent my, not Matrona, my matron goddess, Morana, I used, oh, you can't see it in there? Oh, here we go. I used willow leaves. And hope this shows up in there. There we go. And this is one of them. And I just ripped them up and put them in there. And this, I love this. The energy of this is so much better. And the energy was already intense from the last time that I made it. And now it's just so much more potent. I feel it's the finished recipe, so to speak. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm going to share something else with you. So this right here is, and it's not picking up very well either, this is my elemental salt. Now, this has only 4 ingredients in it, 1 for each of the elements. It has the rest, I used the rest of my lavender to represent air, and I crushed it up a bit. I used sand for water, and the sand is actually really personal. It was collected by the local creek in my neighborhood back when I was living in Georgia. So it says Georgia Creek sand. Not much is left because I've been using it for a lot of healing workings in my easing grief candle spell. And I've used it for health as well. And the last thing I used it for was for representation of the sands of time for my ancient wisdom spell. I used it as kind of like a base to sit my candle in. And that was a really, really, really fun spell, really educational, very informative, very useful. And yeah, if you haven't watched that, I'll link it in this video in the description box. But I used Himalayan pink salt for earth, and I know that it did originally come from a body of water. At least I'm pretty sure that's what I've read. But needless to say, it's, they're in salt caves now, so it's in its own right basically made itself part of the earth and of the element of earth. And so I put that in there. And then for the element of fire, I used ashes. And the reason why I used ashes is, well, in all honesty, I was originally going to use coal, my crushed coal, but I just didn't feel I had enough of the properties of fire. Whereas the ashes, it has been touched by the flames. Even though the coal, I burned my coal too so I could crush it up. It didn't have that transformative energy like my ashes did. My ashes, they have a montage of energies in it between leaves and twigs and bark and I can't even think of what else. A bunch of other things, a bunch of other herbs that have been burned and transformed by the flames. It really embodied that element very well, so I decided to incorporate that instead. And so this is my elemental salt. And it smells really, really good. Unfortunately, I don't have the light on, so my shadow is kind of covering it up, but I'll just let you see it with the bowl. But right now it's charging. It's going to be charging for 7 days, so that way it gets that spirit energy. And then it will have all 5 elements in here. And this is, like I said, an elemental powder. Now, you can use this for a multitude of things. Protection being one of them. You can cast your circles with this. You can sprinkle it on things for protection, or just to bring about the elements to watch over that space. You can use it in your spell work. You can use it to bring forth the energies to help about manifestation. If you wanted to, you could also use it as an elemental representation if you don't have a lot of space or a lot of time to, mark out all of the sections. You could sprinkle a little bit in each direction, north, south, east, west, and have that as the elemental representations. Or again, you could, make it your circle and then have the elemental representations, two in the same deal. And I'll let you use your own imagination to expand upon the purposes for yourself. But I just wanted to share these 2 things with you. And there will be one more video. It's going to be a more serious one, but it will be separate from this one. So thank you for watching, and blessed be my dear witchlings.